So welcome to another episode of Left versus Right. I'm Anthony Weiner on the left, Dominic Carter on the right. So great to have you join us once again. Dominic, they've stopped saying round 8, round 9. I think we might be here for the long term, getting a lot of good feedback about this.
Ding.
We have a lot this week. I mean, seriously, if they expanded the show, I don't give them any ideas, but if they can do, we can do 2 hours without a sweat.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Oh,
let's start with the big local news. There's 2 big local news. We're going to get to both of them. But the first is the first ever trial of a president of the United States going on in Lower Manhattan. We've now had opening statements. We got a witness. We have controversy. What is your takeaway from the first few days of the trial?
Let's see here. What's the best way that I can illustrate this? Follow me, Anthony, okay? Bang! What's that?
That's the sound of a gun.
That's the gun that just went off. Do you see any smoke?
Okay, go ahead. I'll stick with it.
There's no smoking gun. This is a waste of time. The best that the prosecutor has is thus far. See, I'm fair. I'm fair. Unlike you sometimes. The best that Bragg has is what we've seen thus far.
Right.
We've seen the former editor of the National Enquirer, describe the dirty tactics that are used by stars to keep their dirt out of the National Enquirer.
And Donald Trump.
Okay, but where's the criminal element thus far?
We heard, first of all, we had the opening statements. I thought Donald Trump's guy did a pretty good job of saying, people do this kind of stuff all the time.
Right.
And by the way, I have no idea if people pay hush fund payments to porn stars all the time when they're running for president. I have no idea. But I do know it's against the law if you cover it up.
Okay.
And so
wait. No, you're jumping the gun.
Okay.
What, in terms of the evidence?
Yeah.
Has the prosecutor even hinted at that yet in terms of evidence?
Yes.
No.
Because
the first statement.
No. I'm saying what the first guy, Pecker, who comes online, and we are talking about Pecker. This could get a little complicated. But the first, he comes on and he says, Pecker, chose not to do this with Stormy Daniels because I knew it was against the law. I was being investigated. So then Michael Cohen says, all right, I'll do it. If one guy knew it was against the law, the other guy should have known also. You can't cover it up. You've got to. By the way, you know how Pecker knew it was against the law? The Federal Election Commission wrote him a letter saying, hey, are you spending money on this campaign? You can't do it unless you report it. That's the crime.
Okay. Thus far, what we've seen. So then, now I know that Schwarzenegger is not running for for president, but we've seen a practice illustrated by Mark Wahlberg.
A lot of people apparently did it.
Tiger Wood, and look at what Tiger Wood did, according to the editor-in-chief.
Yeah.
Tiger Wood didn't want to appear on the golf magazine, and they leveraged.
It's
the bad
totally. By the way, but what we've said.
But where's the beef? Where's the beef?
It's the first. A couple of things. One, it's not great for the president of the United States to essentially say, "Yeah, I paid off to kill bad stories." And we also heard from this witness, Pecker. They were talking about it in the White House, how let's keep paying for this. But hold on a second. You see, where's the beef?
Right.
The beef is the cover-up, Mr. Nixon. That's the problem. And that's the crime that they are alleged to have committed.
That's not what the jury has heard thus far.
Well, we're not that far in.
Week one has been, normally you come out the gate with a star witness with something big. Oh, he can't put the women on trial because their credibility is completely shot. Pecker was a waste of time. He did
say there was a cover-up.
Okay, if Pecker, if you want to make a case that he should be the lead speaker up at the Columbia University School of Journalism, yes, but not the lead witness in a criminal trial, the first trial against a former president of the United States of America.
Well, let me ask you this.
This was a waste of time.
You're a perfect person to ask this. You've been in journalism. Now you're in opinion. You've done both sides of this kind of stuff. Did you know this kind of practice was going? Like, I'm a civilian.
Of course.
You knew that people paid other people by their stories to not run them?
Catch and kill. Of course.
Pecker said he'd never heard that expression until the prosecutor said it. That was one thing the Trump lawyers brought out, was that you think Well, anyway, look, I was unaware. Look, I knew the idea of paying journalism paying for stories. That I've heard that's as old as the hill.
Even though all journalists deny it, but it's a
right. And I'm sure, like,
and they disguise it. They'll say an appearance fee,
or they won't even say. They'll just say, "Well, we'll tell your story." But
Right.
I never knew until this trial that people like Donald Trump, to cover up embarrassing
you
things.
mean people like Arnold Schwarzenegger?
People like Donald Trump,
You
Arnold
mean people
Schwarzenegger,
like Tiger Woods.
Tiger Woods, or other names came up. But by the way, being the president of the United States, to saying I did something sleazy like all these other people is not terribly persuasive when you're running for president. Your guy looks like a sleazeball, if nothing else, even if he gets off scot-free.
Well, what about the laptop? You're talking about sleaze. So what about the president's son and the laptop and all of that? What about that? Is that sleazy?
I think no. Which part?
Hunter Biden, the whole thing.
100% Hunter Biden.
Okay.
Trading on his dad's name, completely disgusting.
And dad didn't know anything about it. That's not sleazy?
Well, produce some evidence.
Oh, come on, Anthony.
People trade. Listen, Dominic, I know this is going to hurt your feelings. You're going to be surprised to hear this.
Go ahead.
People trade on other people's names. You think that Ivanka got all those trademarks in China if she was named Weiner? No way. That happens all the time. No, look, Hunter Biden, I've said this 1,000 times, they traded on the Biden name 50 ways till Thursday, just the same way Kushner is trading on the Trump name.
Okay, but wait, but you mentioned sleazy. So I figure since you mentioned sleazy,
no, but we got a trial going.
Let's go to the definition of sleazy.
We got a trial going on where basically your guy is admitting to this, just saying I didn't do anything illegal.
And
that's not the best argument.
And it's not like we have an objective trial going on. We have a trial that's being brought in a Democratic city. It's a loaded deck. And the loaded deck, Democrats better be careful because Harlem showed this. The appearance, I know we'll talk about it later, the appearance with the construction workers showed this. All you're doing is building Trump
So what are you worried
even
about?
More. Because it's not
Is he going to get a fair trial or not?
Absolutely not.
What about all of the construction workers that love him? What about, by the way, getting serious though?
They see I'm very serious. They see the injustice. Why do you think people are rallying around Trump?
Hold on a second. You can't have it both ways. You can't say people are seeing the injustice and they can't be fair jurors. Which is it? Are they seeing it?
Well, they're not members of the jury.
Well, you got a guy in the jury who says he gets his news from Truth Social. I don't know anyone gets their news from Truth Social. Why? I got to tell you something. It is so good. Every week you do this. Oh, these people are not going to give him a fair trial. Hey, this jury has now been picked by both the prosecution and the defense.
That's not exactly true. That's partially true.
Well, but I'm just saying that you have guys there that say they got. You get another one who says they get their news from Fox News.
And the reason why is, I believe it's the jury foreman that says he gets the news. He gets part of his news from Fox News. But the reason why it's unfair when you say that the jury was picked by each side, that's technically true. But each side only had 10 exemptions. So after your 10 exemptions, you can't request of the court that another juror is excluded.
Right. So now you're saying that, okay, it's the judge intentionally put people on the trial to load the trial. And I'm just saying that
wait. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah.
But Judge Marchand, right?
Yeah.
You think he's been fair throughout all this?
Well, hold on a second. There have been plenty.
Can you answer the question?
I'm about to.
Okay.
There have been plenty of defense motions on not seating jurors that they were overruled on. For example, the guy who got his news from Fox News and the guy that got his news from Truth Social, the prosecution rather objected to those. They were seated anyway.
Okay, so explain this to me. How does this gag order exactly work?
Well, that's our next subject. Let me ask you about this. If you, a regular civilian, went out and bought a full-page ad in the newspaper criticizing one of the witnesses in your trial, you'd be held in contempt in a minute. In a minute. You can't do that. And he has been told what the rules, and he's basically, I'm going to ignore the rules, Donald Trump. You don't get to ignore the rules in a court. You're on trial, brother. You've got to follow the rules.
You do have to follow the rules, but let's have some fairness in the process. This judge, first of all, comes up with a gag order where it seems that it only applies to Trump. That's ridiculous.
Wait a minute, who else is criticizing family members of staffers at the court and stuff like that?
But
who else is doing that?
But then the judge should.
And by the way, the order affects everyone involved in the trial, not just Donald Trump.
Okay.
The gag order was in response to something. You cannot go out. And by the way, it doesn't include the judge. You want to criticize the judge, or you can. The clerk, The people that witnesses, that's witness intimidation. What if I put an ad in the newspaper saying that all of my supporters should go harass this juror? You would say, you can't do that.
Okay, I'll come back to that. But since you're focusing on the judge, do you think it's appropriate, Mr. Weiner, that his daughter is a Democratic? I'm not gonna. Oh, maybe let's, for lack of a better term, a Democratic operative.
Why do you think the daughter matters? How far are you going to go? Cousins?
You think
brothers-in-law?
the apple falls far from the tree?
I want to know. Look. You want to choose a machine to be judges? Judges have families. Judges have friends. Judges go to country clubs. Judges play tennis. Judges do things. These are human beings. This whole idea that you have to have 12 jurors and a judge whose life didn't exist before 2024 is not realistic.
Okay.
This is the beauty of our system. They're our peers.
Right. So let's have a trial in New York City, where most of the voters
and that's
are
where the crime happened. That's where the crime happened.
Let's have a judge that's selected for the trial. Yeah, right. And
what I don't understand, you're doing air quotes for the people on YouTube. What do you mean?
What I mean, right, air quotes. Randomly selected for this trial.
No, he was selected in part because he had already been involved in a Trump trial. So he already had some experience with some of these issues.
And he showed fairness in the prior trial.
If you want to take it up on appeal saying he wasn't fair, I don't think it's going to be sustained. Look, the problem is you don't want it to be tried in New York City, where the crime allegedly happened. You don't want it to be before a judge from New York City who was a duly elected judge. What do you want?
I have a solution. You said, what do I want? I have a solution. You said the crime was committed in New York
Allegedly.
City. Right?
Alleged crime, Dominic. He's only alleged.
Right. In New York City, right?
Manhattan, not New York County, actually. Right.
Well, I mean, so it would seem to me if we want fairness, I don't know if it's possible, but hold it on Staten Island.
Okay, how about that? First, it's not.
Staten Island.
That's not the district it's in. That's not the. But how about this?
Right,
I got an idea.
That's the city of New York.
I got an idea.
But that's the city of New York. Why not Staten Island?
I got a good idea. Why do we take?
Why not? But can you answer my question? Why not Staten Island?
But when I start to say words, I'm answering your question.
Right.
That's perfectly fine, unless you're going to start to say someone who's accused of rape and murder on Staten Island somehow gets prosecuted in the Bronx. Do you want to do that?
No.
Of course you don't want to do that because you are inconsistent in your positions.
No. It's not inconsistent. It's all about fairness. For Trump to have a trial here in Manhattan, where week one we now see has been a waste of our time. There's been absolutely nothing. Absolutely.
I don't know. You've covered probably 1,000 trials in your day. Have you ever?
Subjectively. Subjectively. If I was an in-bed reporter for the Southern District, this is not in federal court. But if I had been assigned full-time to this trial, I would be saying to my bosses right now, boss, where's the beef? This is a waste of our time.
The first day, we haven't heard the defense yet.
Not the first day, I said the first week.
No, but I'm saying, but we haven't even heard the defense's arguments yet.
But we don't have to hear the defense argument.
You don't have to,
it's all on the prosecution.
As you know, there might not be even a defense.
Right.
Look, all I can tell you is when they cross-examined Pecker, it was things like, "Oh, you got the date wrong that this conversation happened." At no point did they say there was no catch. They didn't seem to contest the big question. Did the Trump campaign conspire to pay off someone and then cover it up? Seems like they're building that up. And by the way, I'm surprised you haven't mentioned this. Pecker has a non-prosecution agreement. Right? He's not getting prosecuted. He didn't come across as being anti-Trump. He says he likes Trump, considers him a friend, considers him a mentor. He sounds pretty truthful to me. And the stuff he's saying, he didn't do stuff. He didn't do stuff because he thought it was illegal.
Right. Well, funny, the defense, Trump's legal team, don't exactly see him as an ally of the former president. This is a waste of taxpayers' money, waste of taxpayers' time. It's offensive to Mr. Trump. It's offensive to the electorate.
Certainly don't want to offend criminal defendants. The next time you ask someone to be thrown in prison, I'm going to say you don't want to offend them.
So is this fair? Is this fair? President Biden gets to go up to Syracuse, pushing a computer chip, right, near Clay, New York.
Right.
He gets to stop in Westchester County, pick up some money, raise some money, come to New York City, pick up some money, raise some money. Trump is locked in New York City at a criminal trial. Does that seem like a fair fight to you?
Let me ask you this.
I see. The people note that the witness did not answer the question.
I'm about to. When I answer your questions, they head off from court on Wednesday. Do you know what Donald Trump did? Whack. He played golf. I'm tired of hearing this.
And what's wrong with that?
Nothing wrong with it, but don't tell me he doesn't have any time to campaign when he has all day off and he's playing golf instead.
Oh, boy.
That's classic Trump right there.
Oh, boy. Can you explain this to me, Mr.
Sure,
Weiner?
I'm doing a good job so far.
In terms of enthusiasm, why is it that Trump events are so exciting?
We saw one this week.
They pull out so many people.
Yeah, by the way, that's a good question.
And when the president holds an event, the White House has to stage the room so it's small so that you can't actually see.
It's funny. This is 2 weeks in a row we've seen the president. Okay,
yes,
I'm going to get it.
Why is it the president doesn't interact with the public the way Trump does?
Good point. I was actually wondering if you were going to bring this up. So last week he goes up to a bodega and he stacks it with young Republicans.
No, that's
this
not
week
true.
he stacks it with construction workers who all have Donald Trump's swag on when they just happen to be there. Listen, the moment this guy steps out from behind the stanchions, he shows up for his campaign event with construction workers. He spends the first 20 minutes talking to reporters with his back to these people, and then he turns around and we're looking at the crowd. How did they all get Trump hats on? Where did that happen?
Right.
It's called astroturfing, Dominic.
No.
Welcome to the world of politically staged events.
It's called their union providing the hats, even though leadership has endorsed Biden. But let's say everything you just said is true.
Right.
Let's just say everything, Mr. Weiner, you just said is true. How come Biden doesn't have any events?
He's the president of the United States. He does presidential events. He does presidential events. You know what he does do?
He does presidential events.
Here's what he does. He announces grants for New York State, and all these Republican congressmen that voted no on it are all taking credit for it. Pretty disgusting.
Excuse me, Mr. Weiner. I would not mention grants. I would not mention
the CHIPS Act. We're kicking China's butt now.
I wouldn't mention the economy.
Why?
If I were you, I wouldn't go there.
Go ahead. We're about to wrap a segment. Make a point about the economy. Make your best argument.
So not your perspective, not my perspective. Bloomberg News survey says 70% of Americans polled feel strongly the economy is going in the wrong direction.
Well, I don't know.
Guess who that's under?
I don't know.
Who that's under? That's under your boy.
Some people believe the stock market breaking records is the wrong direction. Some people believe that economic growth, exceeding expectations is not so great. Some people believe the longest sustained period of sub 4% unemployment since the Nixon administration is a bad thing. Hey, I am 100% with you. Joe Biden is not getting the credit he deserves. You want to talk about?
He's not getting the credit.
Is the stock market 30% higher than it was when Trump left?
So wait.
Yeah.
Rahm Emanuel is what, the ambassador to Japan?
Japan. Mm-hmm.
So which one are they going to give you? Because you're good. You're good
I like the idea.
The Democratic
for the balance
points.
of the show here, I want you to call me the Honorable Ambassador Weiner.
The Honorable Ambassador Weiner, who's a good man, but his facts are all wrong.
Listen,
as it relates to what's going on.
Here's the thing. The economy's doing better, but you're absolutely right. Joe Biden's not getting a lot of credit for it.
No, I didn't say he's not getting credit. I said Americans blame him for the economy based on
blame or give him credit. Either one.
We got to take a break, but I'll give you time to ponder this.
Go ahead.
Why is he trailing in 6 out of 7 battleground
Well,
states?
why is the 538 national average have them basically tied? I think they're trailing because it's hard to be president. I don't think he's doing a particularly great job at getting his message out there. And I don't know. Maybe all these trials, you keep telling me all these trials are good for Trump. Maybe you're right. And we'll get back. When we get back, we're going to talk about the other big news in New York City, the protests, encampments, whatever you want to call them, all over the country. But now the big one is here in New York. Left versus right. We'll be right back. So welcome back to Left versus Right. I'm Anthony Weiner on the left, Dominic Carter on the right. You can hear Dominic every weekday night at midnight. You can hear my show that was just off from 2 to 4. Also, I have a pod.
Show.
Thank you very much. A lot of these same issues we went through, but I wasn't interrupted by people doing Trump talking points. But let's talk about the other issue that has dominated the news, and that is this sit-in protest cacophony that's going on at Columbia University. I've been listening to you. You've been talking a lot about some of the voices that come. I just kind of had a conversation for the last couple hours about it. But let me hear you kind of summarize. What do you think we, meaning the city of New York or the people, should do about these, if anything? Or if you think maybe it's all overblown?
Okay, here's the best way I can describe this. When the president comes to town, no matter who the president is, right? You have the staging area and what's also near the staging area. an area for protesters, right? So you have the same thing at the Trump trial. The protesting area that's been staged, that's in the parking lot of the courthouse, unfortunately, that's where the man set himself on fire and died. But that's where the protesters go. You have your media area. You have the area for people to come in and out. You have a First Amendment right to protest. You do not have a right to engage in hate, a right to honor Hamas, a terrorist organization that should be wiped off the face of the earth, considering, and if I know of all people, considering your work that you did in Congress, you know what has happened October 7th. I just think that these young people, and I'm not a big conspiracy guy, and I'm very interested in your take on this, but, all of a sudden, on all these campuses, they have these nice tents. Where did these kids get these tents from?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to get...
Who's paying for all of this? But it's all wrong. Columbia made a big mistake. The president there, she has to go. She should have shut this down. They should have never been permitted to take over the lawn inside the actual campus.
Yeah, here's the thing. The tradition of sit-ins and people not leaving offices, it actually, Columbia in 1968 was like the mother of all sit-ins, and it's always the same dynamic. A lot of people during the protests of the Vietnam War, you're disrespecting the flag, you're disrespecting our troops. Let's put aside the people that are doing these protests, that are out there, that care for the Palestinians, whatever it is. It's a problem at Columbia that the Columbia management has to figure out. And I know that there's a lot of conflict on that campus about whether to call the police in. They called them in once. Within 15 minutes, there was another encampment there. There are a couple of groups of people that I think you are exactly right we have to separate out. One, anyone out there saying go back to Poland or saying hateful things that are right up to the line of saying you should be dead is a real problem, not only for Columbia, but for the community. Now, I don't know what the First Amendment things say about that. There's something called fighting words that you just can't say. But if you're Columbia, you've got to deal with that entirely separately. But here's what I will say. If you are one of those protesters, and I just got done talking about this, one of those protesters, and you're not an anti-Semite, and you just really believe in the plight of the Palestinians, knock yourself out. You're allowed to have that position. But it should be you that goes out and says, anyone on here saying go back to Poland is no friend of yours. And the problem why I can't take these protesters seriously is I don't hear them loudly enough saying that. But let me say one other thing. All these provocateurs, Speaker Johnson, go back to Louisiana. We don't need you holding press conferences outside, calling in the... Hold on, let me just finish my point. Calling in the National Guard? No one's endangered here.
You were doing so good, Mr. Weiner, Ambassador Weiner. You were doing so good until you just screwed up in a big way. The speaker going there has been the best thing that's happened.
So Susan Sarandon goes there. Do you want her to go there?
No.
Okay. That's the point I'm making. They're just provocateurs.
Susan Sarandon, if she goes
you disagree with her?
No, we may have a full-scale riot.
Well, what is the speaker?
When she's done edging on
Wait a minute. Johnson said call in the National Guard. Have you heard Kent State?
He's right.
Okay, so you're concerned about a full-fledged riot when Susan Sarandon shows up, but not when the speaker, the third in charge, is the president?
Because actress Sarandon, who does good in some of her movies, but when it comes to her political activism, she really needs to sit down.
Totally.
She goes there, she will throw a match onto a gallon.
What do you think
gasoline.
Johnson did? He literally said, "Call out the military." Come on, Dominic. Do we need the military to deal with these with these hippies? Seriously, do we need people with guns going in there? The cops can go in there and arrest them tomorrow. We don't need the National Guard.
I agree with you in part, but
that's the provocativeness I'm talking about.
It's not that simple. It's not that simple. Because of the case in Minneapolis and because of your friends in Black Lives Matter, all of society has been turned and twisted. And that we just had a case in Ohio. The police were called to a bar, got into an argument with this man. They trying to take him out, ex-con. He refuses to go. He's dead.
Wait, hold on a second. We have the best trained police force in America, and you say call in the National Guard, who very often guys work weekends. They're carrying guns, and you think that would not be worse. Of course it would be worse.
No.
But Johnson doesn't care. He's just politicking.
No. It would let these protesters, many of which are professional agitators, know that collectively we are not playing. They are trying their best to antagonize police officers.
Of course they are. That's of course they are. But how would it be better with guns involved?
It's a good thing that the NYPD that they have on their helmets since they've been hit in the head with chairs.
I totally
down at NYU. Speaker Johnson.
Wait a minute. But there were no. When they went in and shut down Columbia the first time, it took about 15 minutes to do it. They went in. People saying you shouldn't have zip ties. Well, I don't know how you arrest someone without zip ties. So they went in, 15 minutes, it was done. The NYPD, these guys know how to deal with this stuff. It's a tough job, but they know how to deal with it. Do you know the National Guard, some guy from Skinneapolis, New York, coming down here with a gun, and your guy, Johnson, all my point is, look, there are people outside that campus who are standing outside on both sides who are just trying to provoke things.
Yes.
And I think that, frankly, the cops can handle it. If Columbia says come in and clear it out, they got a tough problem on their hands. They got a tough problem. They got a lot of their professors and students who said let them stay, a lot to say. They were, in my view, a business. They want to figure out how to manage their business. We don't have to go down there on both sides and throw matches left and right.
I really believe we need to borrow a page from Texas. Like I've been advocating on my show, in Texas, they had the horses there on standby. I really believe, so maybe I'm not the one to talk to about this because I'm so outraged at what's going on with these hate mongers up at Columbia. It's disgusting. I mean,
a lot of them are outside.
Some of them are outside.
That's all the video we're getting is all outside.
Right.
The people inside are doing these stupid dances. They're chanting. Now, some of their chants are right up to the borderline. Maybe we should talk about this. If you chant in support of Hamas, you're chanting in opposition not only to Israel, but in opposition to the United States.
Yes.
But you're doing something else. You're saying that you support people who commit acts of terrorism. And it's very hard to say, well, I'm not an anti-Semite. I just like Hamas. That is a really tough line to draw, in my opinion.
Well, I really believe, and I say this seriously, if it were up to me, and maybe this is why I'm not in politics, and I know it's an ugly scene from America's history, but if it were up to me, I would turn the fire hoses loose.
The fire hose visual is not what I think. Not what we. That was a demonstration of what went wrong when you're trying to deal with protests. I don't think you should use that as the paradigm for what we need.
But I'm just saying that's how angry I am about this situation. Columbia mishandled this. And it's been a effect all around the country and world at different campuses.
Hold on a second. You say Columbia mishandled this.
And Speaker
all right,
Johnson,
You're
the
National Guard. You've already said that he's wrong.
Okay, well, what about the fact that he went up there and said the president should resign?
Well, wait, but all right, let me ask you something. What about
the fact that he's doing something? What is the president of the university
The president is getting criticized on her campus. Let me just finish.
You're right. But let me just say this, and it just hit me. It really just hit me. Where's the president of the United States in all this?
He put out a statement about the anti-Semitism on campus.
Oh, he put out a statement.
What do you want him to do? You want him to add to that fire? Oh, come on. I don't know. Maybe should he go to Texas and then go to Yale and then just start to parade around like some talk show host?
Okay, so if he's in New York again, the president of the United States raising money, right? The first time he was in New York, raising a lot of money at Radio City Music Hall and did not pay his respects to the family of Officer Diller. Okay, so he didn't do that. You said, he can't go to every police funeral, right?
And also, we later found out he wasn't invited, but go ahead.
Okay, all right. So he didn't do that, but he came and raised money.
You want him to go to a protest. Is that what you're saying?
No. I want him to say that I'm going to visit Columbia University and I'm going to meet with the president of something. Anything, something.
Look, there's two ways to go here.
Wait, you honestly said he put out a statement.
Well, but so did Chuck Schumer. People who are going on record on what they believe here, but they're not going to go up there and add to the mishigas up there. They're not going to go and add to the tumult. That's not leadership. Leadership is going up there just to throw fuel on the fire like Sarandon and Johnson would do. That's not leadership. Look, it's very easy. Look, let me ask you this. You have said, and other people have said, Columbia's president should quit or resign or be fired. What action here that she did is the one that you don't like? Was it going to Congress and saying these people don't have a right to be there? Was it saying that we're going to investigate and possibly remove the professor who said these anti-Semitic things? Is it calling in the cops to her campus and say, arrest my students? I mean, look, I get when you have when you're on a college campus, you have a lot of. Go ahead.
You left out the most important one.
Give me
the most important.
Give me. I want to know what you're thinking.
Why she should be fired. Not protecting Jewish students.
Okay.
Jewish students not feeling safe.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough.
The semester canceled or put online for the last 3 weeks.
She has said
we don't know what's really going to happen with the graduation.
She has said
because
there's not going to be a graduation. It's not going to be a graduation. The protests are so disrupted. But they just canceled USC's graduation.
Right.
That's right. This is happening. 10% of the students are making so 90%.
And you think that makes sense?
I don't think.
Do you think that would happen in Texas?
I disagree.
Do you think that would happen in Texas?
I disagree.
Or do you think government would say
it's going to happen in Texas?
They're going to cancel graduation?
No, but you're going to see the University of Texas at Austin. That graduation is going to get disrupted. Watch. Just watch. Protesters have the ability with one person. By the way, have you ever been
dealt with?
Have you ever? You're perfect. You're such a good person to have for these questions. How many times have you been to a speech given by a political figure that one knucklehead gets up and interrupts? All the cameras turn around, look at that knucklehead. Being a protester is the easiest thing in the world. These people are out there.
That's not what's happening.
These people, they went out there in April when it was warm. If they were so committed to the cause, how come they weren't out there in the freezing cold? Because they're wusses. But conflict on campus, protest on campus is old as the hills. And in 1968, maybe 59-year-old Anthony doesn't agree with them, but I'm sure if I was 19-year-old college student at the time, I might have been out there protesting against the Vietnam War.
Mr. Weiner, you're fond of bringing up in our segments black men and the criminal justice system.
I am. I'm kind of the spokesman for black men on the show.
Yeah, I've noticed. But you and I know up at Columbia, and all seriousness here, up at Columbia, if those protesters, if one put on a hood and said KKK or said something, horrible about black students, you and I both know it would be shut down in a New York
100. Well, here's what would happen. Is most of those students, I think we're not allowed in, and so I've only seen most of those students in there, I believe, you might disagree, are people that are well-meaning. They're wrong. They're idiots, but they're well-meaning. They're not anti-Semitic. They're probably not saying anything.
I don't know if I'd go that far.
We don't know. I think
we don't know.
I think that this is not dissimilar from a lot of other protests that you do get people who say, and I've been involved in protests where there's one dude out there saying things that send, and we all went over to him and said, shut your mouth. That doesn't help our cause when you're saying stupid things. But putting that aside for a moment, just the idea, are you going to have protests? You, Dominic Carter, you're the president of CUNY tomorrow. You're going to have protests on your campus about stuff you disagree with all the time. You're not going to send in the cops.
You're not going to take over my campus.
That's fair enough, but you're going to have to balance these people who are. And right now, are we going to keep doing every 2 weeks, every 4 hours? You're going to send in another round of cops to arrest students
and so I
don't know.
I'm really surprised at you that you're not willing to give Speaker Johnson credit for showing leadership to go up there.
What did he do? He said he comes to members. First of all, I don't need a congressman from Louisiana coming to my city under any circumstance.
Well, he's the Speaker of the House.
Unless you want to take a look around and say, here's how we've shortchanged mass transit. This is how we've shortchanged the criminal justice system. This is how we've shortchanged all these other housing policies. This is how we've shortchanged you. If they want to do that, but coming and throwing fuel on the fire is not something that I think helps anyone. And you agree that what he was proposing is something that's not wise. Getting people with guns to come in from the National Guard.
I didn't say that.
I thought you said you thought the National Guard wasn't necessary. The cops could do it.
No, I said the cops could do it.
Right. You don't need the National Guard.
No, I completely.
You really need guns in this case? Have we learned no lessons about sending guns?
I completely support what the Speaker said.
Oh, including sending a National Guard.
Madam President, get this under control.
No, he said,
and if you don't, the United States Congress will.
No, the Congress, he didn't say anything about the Congress. He said the National Guard is under control of the governor. Yeah, so you believe the lessons we've learned from protests in the 1960s is send the National Guard onto campus to break up protests.
I would send the National Guard.
Okay, and you've learned the lesson of turning hose on protesters.
I would
Dominic, I don't know where you were for the history class at SUNY, but
SUNY
Cortland,
and at one of the best journalism schools in the country, Syracuse University.
Well,
I would send it. If it were me, I would. I know no politician wants to call in the National Guard, and we got to take a break. But if for me, because the damage that's being done, I don't know. Look what's going on nationally.
Well, listen, we can pick it up when we get back from the break. But the big question is, if you're just sitting there and you're having
you're just sitting there.
Yeah, most of them are just sitting there, Dominic.
Oh, really?
If you can't discern that,
is that why the
if you
Jewish
can't
students,
discern that they're just sitting,
is that why
I'm not talking about those people. I'm saying most of the people. You're saying rolling the National Guard on the people in the tents, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you don't think there's anyone in there who's just sitting there because they care about Palestinian rights? But you want a guy with a gun going and moving that person. That's a mistake.
So then if you care about Palestinian rights, there are protests all the time right outside the designated area.
Yeah, you don't want to protest.
At the United Nations.
I don't agree with them either.
Or why don't you go to Gaza and protest?
This is America. You're allowed to have protests.
Right.
There's a left versus right. Plenty more to come. I'm Anthony Weiner on the left, Dominic Carter on the right. So great that you could join us. So welcome back to Left versus Right. I'm Anthony Weiner on the left, Dominic Carter on the right. You can get us, if you miss any part of the show, you can get it as a podcast. You could also get this on YouTube. We weren't on last week because I wasn't dressed well enough. And also, if you want to follow Dominic at Dominic TV has a great Twitter feed. Weiner, WABC at gmail.com. I'm also at Rep Weiner, but I don't really look at my Twitter too much. If you know my history, you probably understand why. All right, let's wrap up. We were going to go to a different subject, but there's a lot of ground to cover here. And I guess the question that I have for you is, do you make any distinction between a peaceful protester who's expressing their views and someone who's expressing something anti-Semitic or threatening? Do you make a distinction between those two people?
One more time. Say it one more time.
So do you think that there's a distinction between someone who's just peacefully protesting, they believe in Palestinian rights, they believe in Gaza, they're anti-Israel, and someone who is assaulting people with their words, someone who's saying hate speech about Jews, or someone who's committing acts of violence against cops?
Of course, there's a big difference.
Right. But hold on. Now that you've answered that, so that first group, even if you think it's 50-50, I think it's 90-10 probably, but that first group, that's the problem for the head of Columbia. It would be the problem for Chancellor Carter also.
That's not. No.
Because protests, free exercise of protests, are one of the things you get encouraged to do, to speak your mind. And think about those people. What if they were out there protesting on behalf of Donald Trump's rights in a trial?
Okay. Now, here's why I wanted to answer about the first group. The people that are out there protesting, they really believe it, and they're just protesting. That's fine. We all respect that in America. But for example, they can't go occupy the president's office under the excuse of we're just protesting.
There are rules even for protests.
There are rules. And so you can't take over such a prominent part of the Quad inside Columbia University.
This is what happened. This is what happened in 1968. The protests.
This is 2024.
I understand, but protests
for not 1968.
Well, we're still the same. We're a country, and I don't follow your point. What are you saying?
The point I'm trying to make is that we've come a long way, and that this is something that cannot be tolerated.
Wait a minute. We've come a long way. We've actually made progress in that time. A lot of people believe that turning the dogs on protesters who were just protesting Vietnam War.
I'm glad you said that. Wait, I'm glad you brought up the dogs. If it were up to me, I wouldn't turn the dogs on the protesters, but I would have them there. I'm glad you brought that up.
Right, because at the time
I would have at least
there were a lot of Dominic.
I would have at least 5 or 6 NYPD K, and you know, like I well know, the way the NYPD works is they show you normally community affairs officers when they're wearing the blue jackets, and then when things start getting, but the backup team is nearby on
Dominic,
moment's
let me
notice.
ask you.
Wait, let me just finish. It's important for the public to understand this. That the backup team normally in years past with the horses and so on would be a mile away. They're called in.
Yeah.
You know, okay, but go ahead. You don't want to hear that. So
I mean, this reminds me of the strategies that were used when John Lewis led a march over the Edmund Pettus Bridge.
I'm not making comparisons. That's ridiculous.
That's what I'm doing. I'm saying that we've come a long way since the days that we turned dogs on peaceful protesters.
I didn't say turn the dogs on them. I said I would have the dogs there.
Okay. Would you have for what purpose? As I'm curious, in case the people didn't leave.
To let them know I'm not playing with you.
Right. Okay. They're not playing.
You're going to get off this campus.
Right. Okay. So you're going to turn the dogs on them if they don't leave?
No. I would.
Okay. So what are you doing?
No.
Come on.
I would.
I would have
the horses there. The horses are there for crowd control.
The kids aren't leaving. They're going to have to get arrested.
Yeah, right. Look at what happened at Harvard, right? At Harvard. They were out there in the middle of the night. It was early, about 5 a.m. The sprinklers went off accidentally. I
saw that.
Right?
It was accidental? I thought they did it on purpose.
Well, it should be done on purpose on every campus.
Okay, fine. All right. But I guess the point, we're getting a little bit off.
And I'm a bit annoyed that you are condemning Speaker Johnson for showing leadership going up to Columbia University.
I've repeated this 5 times. You want to come up there and be provocative by saying bring out the National Guard.
Showing leadership. Okay, go ahead.
You keep saying that we're not getting anywhere, but you saying leadership. And here's the problem I have. I think if I don't really believe we have to talk about this.
Wait, Mr.
Hold on, let me just finish.
Go ahead.
It's 2024. If you really believe bringing armed National Guard doesn't remind you of anything, Kent State, if it doesn't remind you of lesson we've learned, Kent State, why would you possibly think that's a good idea? We're smarter than that, you and me, to think that that's a good idea.
So you just keep playing with these protesters and letting them call the shots?
I have to say, I am glad I don't have this person's job, the head of Columbia, but I understand the conflict that she faces.
I don't understand the conflict at all.
I'll explain it to you. They encourage these people. Now, there are rules. These people are not following the rules. They got to remove them. But how often? I mean, sooner or later, you're going to be calling the cops every 2 hours for a trespassing charge. Pretty soon, you're closing off your campus. You have no other choice except to do that. And so she's trying to figure out a way to resolve this. The same way in 1968, we could have gone in there with dogs and riot cops, and it didn't work out so well. And so she's trying to figure it out. But I make a distinction. In a way, focusing on the kids in the tents misses the idea that there's another 10, 15, 20%, I don't know what it is, who are outside saying things like, go back to Poland. Now, that person is, I believe, committing what you said earlier. That's no different than saying, go back to Africa, black person. It's the same exact thing. Or, we're glad you're a slave or something. Well, we're slaves. We would never tolerate that. But a lot of the kids on that campus, I don't know. They look to me like kids who just are idiots about Israel. They just don't understand it, or they're wrong. People are wrong throughout history. We don't necessarily arrest them.
Well, the young people inside with the Palestinian garb on and the scarves and the dancing of the songs. At what point, Mr. Weiner, at what point? See, what I don't understand about the president there, I would say, if I were her, I would say to myself, if I don't clean up this mess, I'm going to lose my job.
Well, look, I got to tell you something. Here's what did happen. The faculty senate was going to censure her. And they decided not to because they don't want members of Congress thinking they can bully a college campus into doing something. By the way, put the shoe on the other foot for a second down there. Let's say you had a protest going on down there in favor of banning abortion. Or you're down there saying, stop victimizing our president, or she should have total immunity, which was going to be one of the things we got to next. Okay, and it's a conservative thing on a liberal campus.
Okay.
Would you say go in there and break it up with fire hoses, or would you think that looks really bad to be taking unpopular speech and banning it?
But that's not what happened at Columbia. If as the college president, if I told them on 5, 6 occasions, I let you make your mistake the first time, I let you make your mistake the second time, 5 or 6 times that you are violating the law. That's the part that you're missing.
Well, they're violating the rules of the campus.
No,
you're trespassing.
Right.
Okay. Trespassing.
So you're violating the rules of campus, even if it's a cause that I support. At some point, I'm going to shut it down. And if you don't think I'm going to shut it down, watch me.
Okay,
I'm going to use every means.
So
at my
now we know. Now we know what that
done.
looks like. What does that look like? It looks like a bunch of cops coming in, zip tying a bunch of kids, bringing them downtown, booking them for trespassing, and releasing them.
No,
and then it springs up
bring
again.
Them downtown. They should bring them to Rikers.
There's no Rikers crime they've committed.
Yeah, but they should bring them to Rikers.
Just for the heck of it.
No. You know why? Because the protests will go away. Process them at Rikers.
No, that's not the law.
Yeah, I know, but
law
let them,
unless there's another crime you think they committed.
Let them sit there.
What crime do you think they committed besides trespassing?
Let them sit there for a while. I guarantee you this protest thing. Listen, I don't have a problem.
You also don't have a law.
Wait. Let me just say. You know there are ways to do things, Mr.
No. I'll tell you what happened.
You know the first thing that you have to do when you're arrested, you got to be able to prove the person's identity. If the machine is broken, if there's a mishap,
there's no requirement in America to carry identification.
Mr. Weiner, when a person is arrested, the police can hold you for, I believe it's up to 48 hours if they cannot identify you.
Okay.
Via
So you
fingerprints.
and this is for trespassing. So you want to arrest people
Well,
for
I
trespassing?
don't know
Okay.
whenever a person is arrested.
Let's assume they're arrested for trespassing, and then another protest pops up.
Right, and what about the bottles hitting the cops in the head?
That's bad. That person should be now should be thrown in prison. Okay, but let's take the bulk of what those people are not throwing bottles. There was a bottle, maybe, whatever, and that's bad. But let's separate it out. You're the charge of the campus. You say, I want to keep arresting these people for trespassing. Eventually, you got to close your campus, don't you? Yeah, you probably have to close it all down, and then every student can't go to class.
No, I really believe that you send
isn't that what the protesters want, to close the campus down?
No, you send a message of law and order. You're not going to. We need Rudy Giuliani for
that's
this
rhetoric,
situation.
but that's
it's
rhetoric.
Not rhetoric.
It
it's
is.
Not
You
rhetoric.
have a private enterprise now. It's a private place. You want to put the cops outside and arrest people who are protesting? Okay, go crazy. Get your Rudy Giuliani experiment. But you're back to being the chancellor now. You arrest them. They come back. Another group comes in solidarity, and then another group, and then a group of teachers, and then it closes down the campus.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. You get rid of them. Columbia has a lot of money, a big endowment. You build two guard booths right there on the
You can't get on campus now.
Oh, no,
if you and I wanted to, we can't. It used to be open.
Columbia,
it's not.
They have their own physical plants where they can get things done very fast. All these major.
No, but I'm
colleges.
saying the gates are already closed. You used to be able to walk through as a civilian. You can't anymore.
Right, but if the
it's closed.
university is approving of these guard booths, you put the guard booths right there. And you call the NYPD. What's the point of having a
Wait,
campus?
hold on a second. I just want to explain. We only have a couple of minutes left. I want to explain what's going on now.
I know, and we haven't even gotten to the
No, this is an important issue.
We haven't even gotten to the Supreme Court that is basically sided with who?
We haven't gotten a decision yet.
No. Based on their questioning a few days ago, which is normally an accurate sign of which way they will go.
I think they're going to go the way that's going to allow Joe Biden to order the military to arrest Donald Trump. So, yeah, that's good.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I think they're going to go the way saying that's a presidential immunity, so Joe Biden can go arrest Donald Trump for being a threat to the country, and he can't be prosecuted for it. That's good.
No.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah. No. There's presidential immunity. So so Joe Biden can order his military to arrest Joe Biden at the courthouse.
One could make a case he already tried to do that.
Okay.
Via
so
the
you're
court
good
system.
with it?
No.
Oh, you're not good with it?
And that's not what the Supreme
Of
Court.
Course. That's what they argue. That's what Trump wants.
Okay.
Trump says give Joe Biden.
Wait. I'm always honest. Let's see if you can be honest.
Sure.
Based on the questioning the other day, what the Supreme Court appears, what direction that they're going.
That they are going to say that the president is immune from prosecution if he calls out the military on his opponents. He can't be prosecuted for that. Yeah. I think Joe Biden should do it.
No.
Yeah, Joe Biden is the president.
No. See, you're overlooking the whole argument.
Oh, am I?
The Justice Department is coming after Trump because of January 6th.
Okay.
And Trump has said that everything that he did was under the scope of as president of the United States of America.
He can still be prosecuted.
Right? But what at least what some of the justices are saying is that your scope, Justice Department, of going after Trump, we're going to narrow that greatly, and that means that the trial's going to be pushed back even further. So there goes your argument.
You're celebrating a delay. Oh, I thought you were saying they were going to do the right thing. No. It definitely looks like it's going to be delayed.
No, they are doing the right thing.
Okay, so you believe the president should have immunity?
No, you're putting your spin. I
just want to see the Dominic Carter position. Should he have immunity or not?
I can state my position. Here's the Dominic Carter position. What happened to Trump is unfortunate. What happened to Trump should have never happened with all these criminal cases.
To Trump?
Yes, what happened to
What
Trump?
about the country?
And he's right.
The Supreme Court is arguing
election interference. Can you deny it's election interference?
I 100% can. But if Joe Biden, he's going to be the president, if the Supreme Court says he can't be prosecuted, he should then go arrest Donald Trump because he can't be prosecuted for it. He should order his military to go do it. That's a presidential power.
Mr. Weiner, wait
a minute. Don't you want him to have that power?
No.
You don't? Okay, so you don't think he should be immune.
What I want is that for an incumbent president, that administration to not have the ability to go after a rival on a presidential
He's
level.
immune. That's not what I can tell you. Donald Trump is not arguing what you just said. He's arguing the opposite.
Okay.
He's saying that Joe Biden should be immune from prosecution if he orders his military. That's what presidential immunity.
That's not what Trump is saying at all.
That's presidential immunity. He even answered that same question. His lawyer answered that same question yesterday in the affirmative.
That's lawyers and before the Supreme Court.
You asked what the Supreme Court's going to do.
We have to save this for next week because we're out of time.
Well, there's always going to be more issues, I think. Dominic Carter, Anthony Weiner, Left versus Right. So great to have you along with us. Stay tuned for Vinny Medugno.